He raises some of the issues, some of the comments here. How Lugari MP, that is, what is the splash here? And 1 billion shillings from state funds. And if you may read that, it says that Lugari MP Ayub Savula earned a total of 1 billion shillings from contracts signed while various state agencies in 5 years through his company, Sunday Publishing Limited. The Kenya Revenue Authority has revealed in court filings. Mr. Savula's Sunday publishers is said to have received the cash between 2013 and 2017 from government agencies, among them the National Hospital Insurance Fund, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the Nairobi County Government, Migori County, Mombasa County, and the National Lands Commission. The lucrative deals are now the subject of an ongoing tax evasion investigation by KRA and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI. This story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily. You want to comment on this? If you may hack back into also where Savula is coming from. A Balab to Kashmir story, or rags to riches story as well. Way back in Mumias? Boni Khalwale?
I would have loved that I don't say much.
Much that you know or you do not know?
About Savula, and I'll deliberately avoid commenting on the current problem. But if it is true...
But you know his genesis right from Mumias as well, isn't it?
Yes, I do.
You do know?
If it is true, because sometimes what we read in the papers, you cannot be too sure that it is what is actually taking place.
So what are you telling? You're casting aspersions on what we have on the front page of the Business Daily?
We can easily end up being sued for saying things we are not sure. I have no facts at the moment that he evaded paying this kind of money and that he received that money. Since there is a court process that is ongoing, we hope that facts will keep on coming out. However, I would like to ask the DPP and the DCI to also ensure that his companies are also investigated so that they consolidate the stealing that Savula carried out on Mumias Sugar Company together with the Kidero. We would like them to be consolidated so that as Kidero gets tried for misappropriation of the funds in the county government of Nairobi, we also consolidated with the ones he did in Mumias. And as Savula gets continues being pursued for what he has done at the Ministry of Information, again, they should consolidate it with the money they stole from Mumias. That is, I'm just asking for the farmers. We would be very happy. They should not leave the cases in isolation. Okay. Others, as far as this is concerned, I'll wait to see how it pans out. The court process comes out.
You know, Dibal, the biggest question on my mind, reading all this about Savula, the Galana Kulalu, and the dam story that is on our newspapers today, the thing that bothers me is, are we winning the war on corruption? Let me first of all put out a disclaimer. For the things that I own, I can explain where I got them from. Therefore, I have absolutely no business defending anyone that is corrupt, because I have never stolen and I don't intend to. I'm a properly brought up African child.
We don't expect a 23-year-old to own much. You wait when you reach our age.
It's too early.
That's a problem with these old men. after they have looted Kenya, they want to discourage us young people. The point that I wanted to make, Dibal, is this. You know, this war on corruption, unfortunately, the way it's being driven, every time somebody raises critical issues about it, we are quickly branded and labeled as being opposed to the war on corruption. You remember, because today in your newspapers you're reporting that DCI has summoned directors of 107 companies. I remember very well during the much hyped corruption conference. One of the things that CJ Maraga told DPP and DCI, that if you lump up together 40 to 50 people and you present them before a court of law, surely, how do you expect to get a conviction? Absolutely. My advice to DCI, DPP, please reduce on the drama and the hype. There's just too much smoke and very little fire in the work that you're doing. To be sincere, I wish you success. It will be my greatest honor to see the people that are looting Kenya be brought to book. Unfortunately, the way they are going about their work, it appears as if it is all synchronized to try and create a drama of some sort, but not have a final. Most of their cases are just being tried on the newspapers. But when it gets before a court of law, it doesn't hold water. Surely, you cannot convince me, Dibal, unless I am seriously insane, that out of all these 107 companies, all of them either were used to swindle money. I mean, there has to be 2, 3, or 5 that perhaps he's looking for. And what is all this about trying to say, you know, I need all the 107 directors standing out, even in terms of just the neatness of the work that he's doing. When you have 107 companies, what is your concentration span? There is the work of an investigator like DCI is first of all to do the background work. Until now you have zeroed in on the people that you think are persons of interest, then now you say, these are the people that I'm calling for. But when you tell me that you went, found a list of all, perhaps these 107 are the companies that were paid to supply various things. I've seen even companies that supplied air tickets, you know, and all that kind of thing, and say come to DCI, you're missing it. Otiende, because you participated in the drafting of our constitution, perhaps you will help this panel and the country at large in telling us what was your intention on the nexus between DPP, DCI, and EACC. Because as it is currently, everybody is closing over everything. You see DCI on this one, you see DPP on another one. If it is clear to me as it's supposed, all initiations of all these cases
So you think
should be at EACC. If you run into problems where people are not complying, then you hand it over to DCI.
Right. So you think
and DPP finally should be able now to say that I have received the file, the investigations have been completed. Either you charge or you return and say certain things are not clear, as used to happen.
Right.
By the way, when what is this guy called, the environmental minister, Tobiko was DPP, a lot of us used to throw flack at him and say, oh, he's returning he's returning files back to ESCC. But when you see the kind of hype that is being generated with very minimal or near zero conviction happening, you see the wisdom in some of the things that he was doing. And the last thing that I'd wish, perhaps, if we were to properly win this war on corruption, is that there shouldn't be any sacred cows, as it appears to me. There are certain things that are way too glaring, which unfortunately we don't see either DPP, DCI heading that direction.
So you think it's all style and no substance with this fight on corruption? Yeah, but we have Jaco. You wanted to comment on that particular splash on Savula?
Sure. First of all, Dibal, I am happy that Bonnie today, on the issue of sugar, Mumias is on the side of the people. I'm so happy.
He has
going to it. No, because just the other day here he was glorifying Raya as employing lawyers by importing sugar.
He does.
How does a farmer, somebody...
3,500.
Let me just tell you, your people are poor because of this corruption. And Dibal, the question we need to address ourselves to, or the suggestion we need to address ourselves to, is where do we go from here to win the war on corruption? I want to appreciate my young brother, Senator Cheriot, for saying, are we winning the war? I think we are. But I think the authorities need to do more. By, first of all, begin from the top. And from the top means dealing with Parliament, dealing with EACC, the investigative authorities cannot be corrupt in themselves, and we succeed. So why is the DPP telling us he has files on governors? And we know the amount of theft that is going on in the counties. We know, we were here when it was being flashed all over. MPs taking 10,000 shillings to allow sugar with mercury into the country. Nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody has been arrested. So MPs are the people in public service. You can't keep saying, because Bonnie Halwale was there, Midiwo was there, Two wrongs never make a right. But we did our part. We did our part. Wamatangi was here with us those days, and they protected this thing called laptops, 3.5 billion laptops for class 1 kids. And we said here that it is a scam. Which school in this country has the laptops? Bonnie and I, we said it. And we said, don't do it. It is a misinvestment, because that money, you can be traced to somebody's pocket. So, Senator Cheriot, even if there were 1,000 people, let the authorities work. Bring them in. The DCI and the DPP need to deal with the court, the justice system, because there's corruption in our courts. Deal with them. A lot of these cases are taken to court. You cannot achieve convictions. Lastly, Dibala, I want to plead with people in the August House that it is not just good enough to come here and lament when you can get an idea from here and take it there. What we need to do, number one, is to do regulations, like this tendering process. Kalana, whatever Gulalu, like Halwale, the lawyer word is so difficult to pronounce. But the whole point is, these things we are saying that these companies which come to tender, these shadowy companies, we need to keep improving our laws. We need to, now that it is being proven that there's an Italian guy without an office in Kenya has come and walked away with billions. Nobody, I saw Honorable Tiende saying that they even tried to serve their lawyers, and they said, we are not their lawyers. You know, in all this, besides making these tendering laws, we need to criminalize the civil servants that sit in these meetings. If you jail one or two, none of them will sit, none of them will be used by politicians, because politicians don't sit in those offices. The politicians use civil servants in those offices. So I think we are making progress. In fact, if Bonnie, Halwale, and myself did not participate so actively in bringing a new constitution, we would not be seeing all these things. At least now they are coming out. They're coming out. And many more are going to come out. All we need to see is positive results. We want to see that, you know, just the other day, I saw the hatchet man of the Matangi side, Honorable Murade, saying that the most expensive dam.
I think there's something you're missing about me. You mentioned me
I've missed you. So, but he was saying something very interesting.
Thank you.
That somebody is building the most expensive dam ever built in the world in Kitui. And that dam, after the tendering, the company that bid the highest was loaded upwards again, another 3 billion shillings. You know, and that person, he was accusing, Murade has not been summoned to say anything different, but he was talking about generally, very blatantly, about the Ministry of Water and Cheriot's people.
All right, thank you.
Can we wind up on this? On the Savula issue, we never had
Savula. Okay.
So can we have a very quick one? Because I'm a businessman, I didn't want to say much on it, but just very quickly, a few things.
What do you mean you're a businessman?
I mean, because I know the law
okay.
around business. You know, one, you even ask yourself what this kind of headline is doing here, or what business do we have as a country or government bringing up this matter? You know, the law is very clear, that if you award any person or any company a contract as government, and during payments, you recover what is payable to government first, and you only remit to that person what is equal to their payment. So these recoveries, and the only amounts that are normally retained for that matter is only the amount that is specific in the contract, that should be retained. And then once it's retained, then the last portion is paid to the contractor. The rest is retained by government. So what I'm saying is that most of these you're finding happening now is really a question of one, not mischief, but corruption in government offices, because they don't have to drive government to the extent of coming to arrest Jacob Midiwo. Now that he has been mentioning me, let me mention him so that I can pay him back. But I believe if the law is followed, recover the monies, knock it off as the tax payable, and then pay the balance, you don't have this kind of scenarios. Secondly, and Jacob, because you spoke about the laptops and what you said here, and the laptops project, when we spoke about it here, Dibal, for purposes of the record being straight, as we spoke about when it was a pilot project, it was piloted in some schools, it has come to now what has been announced, that it is not going to be implemented, but the government is going to build those laboratories that came out in the news. And so in as far as what was being done, and that's what I started by saying, Dibal, that there is nothing wrong for any leadership or any government to look and find solutions as to how you mitigate, including IT literacy in our schools. It's an issue that we must deal with. But the question is, once you have decided that it's going to be done, those you put behind it, do they do the right thing? Do they, or don't they? If they don't, then hold them to account.
Thank you.
It's that simple.
But what about Otieno Omolo on this? Having a legislator and a conflict of interest as well. You as an MP also, dealing with the government, doing business with the government. Isn't this also part of the public ethics that is enshrouded in the Constitution that we should desist from?
Yeah, let me answer you. But let me start from where Jacoyo left. And I think that, and I agree, that we need to do a lot in Parliament, even in the National Assembly. And I agree that Jacoyo and Boni, in your time, you did quite a bit. Except that time you were Boni Mtetezi. Now I do not want to say where you have moved to. I will leave that for another day. Except, let's just say the new Boni now they say things which he doesn't even keep. You remember the other week he promised us to bring a clip, he never did. Last week he promised a letter, he never did. But I will leave that. On this...
Is Boni Msakanyaji.
On this headline, and I agree with Mamatangi, the headline is a bit curious because it raises two things. First is the question of Ayub Savula's company doing business, and I'll respond to that.
Yes.
But then the second question is the non-payment of tax. Now, I do not understand where DCI is coming in here.
Yeah.
Because if it is non-payment of tax, it's a matter of KRA. And as Senator Matangi says, if tax was not paid for those many years, then how was payment made? How was procurement made? Because in procurement, you also need
tax compliance.
You also need tax compliance. Now, the second issue is a question of doing business. The lapse here is that after the new constitution was enacted and there was an attempt to bring an anti-corruption act that was very fundamental, Parliament then watered it down, you remember. And one of the things that had been in the initial draft was the idea that if you are a state officer, then not only can you not hold any other engagement, you cannot even be in business that does business with government. As we speak, and once that was watered down, there is nothing in the law that stops any member of parliament or any state officer being part of a business that still does business with government or anybody else. So, in this context, the fault would not be that Ayub Savula did business with government. The question would be if there were improprieties in the course of doing that business. And let's just say that the money is being spoken about appears humongous. But I am happy that the report says the matters are in court. They're being actively prosecuted.
And if KRA is sleeping on the job, you want to tell me also DCI is not supposed to actually intervene?
Well, no. The point is very specific. Everybody has a jurisdiction. Yes. And if they are not doing their work, then they must be removed. Yes. You cannot go and assume somebody else's jurisdiction. That is usurpation, which cannot be allowed. DCI cannot start collecting taxes. And just the way DPP cannot start doing the work of the AG, and the AG cannot start doing the work of the judges, and vice versa. But let me finish what I was saying. And there's something that Senator Chiriot said, which I think is right. nowadays, and even today I've looked at the papers, and if you just count by number, the number of cases reported to be under investigation, there are over 15. All with all sorts of interesting details. In almost all of them, there is none that is under prosecution for the ones that have been reported today. And for me, that raises a very fundamental issue. Is it that the journalists have now come up and they are able to track these things, and even before the investigations are complete, they're able to give us all this? Or is it that there's an active role of somebody giving preliminary investigations reports to the journalists to keep feeding and raising our hopes, which sometimes does not result in conviction and then crushes our hope? I think that the DCI, the DPP, and even the new CEO of EACC, their mind is in the right place. Their intention is right. I am not sure their execution is as it ought to be. The intention to fight corruption is a good thing, is what we would call, it's just at the mind level, that your mind is now right, and I think that is right. But in law, there's a difference between what we call mens rea, that is the intention, and actus reus, that is how you execute it. Mens rea can be at an artistic level, but the actus reus must be scientific. I have said before, and I repeat, that we must not have a DPP who's media savvy but court shy. Because convictions are done in court. I like the mind and intention of DPP Haji, but that intention cannot be prosecuted in the media all the time and never in court. That when it comes to court, we have to hire another foreigner to come and prosecute. We must, you cannot, and let me close with this, you can be the best footballer, dribbling on the sidelines, juggling, but you cannot succeed as a good footballer if you will not enter the pitch to play. And that is, I think, where the missing link is.
Well, could you wind up on it so that we can look at KQ briefly? We are actually running out of time.
Debal, failure to pay taxes or tax evasion is a crime. The C in the DCI is crime, criminal. So the DCI must investigate Savula. Just as much as he must, that C is the description of his job. That is his, is lane to run on. You cannot say it is scary. This is a crime, tax evasion. For you to get the whole amount and never pay taxes, you had a criminal mind. And that is the work of Kinoti. Number two, I watched this show, Debal, last week. I saw some panelists, I can't say all. They keep blaming the media for doing a good job. How are you blamed when you do a good job?
Blaming the media for doing a good job? Yeah,
they're blaming them for doing a good job. The media is perfect, they're spot on. This thing is huge, this thing about corruption. I mean, if I have, even against this media house, gone to court for defamation, we don't see people going to court because nation defamed them for being corrupt. And lastly, these are political thefts, my brother Otiende. The DPP and the DCI must talk to Kenyans. These politicians are powerful. If they don't talk, how do we know? We must carry public confidence. And that's how war against corruption is fought. I sit up at night watching CNN. I've been watching this Russia connection and American elections. They are talking. They leak it. It doesn't skew the investigation.
Thank you.
Because you are investigating powerful people.
I want to agree with Jacob that is unfair. It is unfair for us to attack the media. And even more unfair for us to cast aspersions on the DCI. They are doing what is expected of them. The media today, upon realizing that taxes were not being remitted, they have reported. And then they have gone even further and reminded the readers that the same payments for which taxes were not being reported, already Savula is facing charges of stealing 122 million. 122 million shillings. what mistake has the media done by bringing the two together so that a reader understands exactly what's happening? My only sympathy with Savula is this, that let Kenyans know that this is a syndicate. Savula was only taking a small percentage. The PS, who was my classmate, the PS who was my classmate had his own cut.
Which PS?
Itemere. It is here in the same story. And the rest of the 24 people who are charged with them. So these are syndicates where somebody gets a very small cut. So when you look at Savula on the paper like this, people think that he's worth 1 billion shillings. In fact, he's only worth the little cut that he got from that money.
So,
and I'm not saying this to justify that when you still
information that would be useful to the
Yes,
DCI.
yes.
I think it should report to DCI.
no, it is here. It's here.
Okay.
It's here. It is not mine.
Let's listen. Aaron Cheriot, what would you say then? If we have the PSAs and the CSAs, you can look at that editorial cartoon that we have today.
You know,
And also comment on it.
I've always realized that on this issue on performance of media, DPP, DCI, Boni and Jakoyo share the same views, while very unlikely of us, Otiende and I agree on this one. And you know, Jakoyo, the point that Otiende is raising is very fundamental. His point is, well, it is criminal for sure not to pay taxes, but where is the work of the person who primarily was supposed to have collected those taxes? We are being told, for example, that these are taxes that should have been remitted in 2013, 2014, 2015. To be able to do business with government, you need a yearly tax compliance certificate. Who is it in KRA that was issuing this company that is being mentioned here with a tax compliance certificate while they were not remitting taxes as was expected of them? Therefore, what Otiende is saying is that we should not allow a scenario where we believe that this year, for example, is a single source of truth. That their work cannot, for example, be manipulated. It is important for us to question and ask, who are the people that aided also? You know, there's a charge of aiding and abetting crime. So we need to be known, to be told, who are the accomplices of these people in KRA. KRA, on yearly basis, for the last 3 or 4 years, have been missing their yearly targets on collection. It is only now that you are beginning to see them raiding certain business premises. So we need to be told this inefficiency that is in KRA, and together with it, you know, the issue that has been in court about the director, Commissioner General, having overstayed in office. You know, you can be good, you can be great, but there was good wisdom in having a term of office limit for every public officer.
I think
it doesn't make sense.
For another day.
It doesn't make sense, just in conclusion, that you keep on missing your targets as an officer, but you're told you're a good person. My final point on this, I'd wish to further agree, lastly, but not the lastly of Omatangi. Not the lastly of Omatangi. I would wish this, the reason why you see Otiende and I say this is because constitutionally, Article 244, subsection 4, it speaks on the organs and what the National Police Service is supposed to do. And it clearly states that, and this is to the Inspector General, let alone the DCI, this is somebody who ranks higher, that no person may give direction to the Inspector General with respect to the following. One, which is my subject of interest, the investigation of any particular offense or offenses. Yet we have seen before us many times the DCI appear and say, you know, we are doing this because the president has said we need to fight corruption. It is not in his place to take instructions from anyone. That is why people are beginning to raise questions about how this war is being waged. They should not be taking instructions from anyone. Otherwise, we will begin to say these are political persecutions rather than self-initiated. So let them rise above these issues. We wish him success. That's why we critique him on every other day and say, you're doing good, but you can do better.
Thank you.